In the dimly lit underground, the narrative unfolds with Seo Jo-hyun, our protagonist, fending off a horde of menacing monsters. The air is thick with tension as Jo-hyun teeters on the edge of desperation, questioning why an old ally would betray him in such a dire situation. The fear of imminent death grips him, intensifying the urgency of his predicament. To unravel the origins of this crisis, we must rewind the clock by 15 years to the tumultuous year of 2045. A seismic shift occurred across the globe as mysterious tombs emerged, triggering colossal earthquakes upon their arrival. Within these enigmatic tombs lay relics, ancient artifacts that would reshape the destiny of humanity. These relics, reminiscent of mythical sagas, were believed to harbor unparalleled power, bestowing various extraordinary abilities upon those fortunate enough to possess them. As tales of lives transformed by these relics spread far and wide, a fervor swept across different corners of the world. People embarked on quests, dedicating their lives to uncovering these mythical artifacts. Jo-hyun joined this pursuit, albeit later than most. Yet, despite the tardiness of his journey, destiny had a unique relic in store for him, the Archaeist Relic. This particular artifact unveiled comprehensive knowledge about tombs and crucial insights into other relics. Jo-hyun, elated by this discovery, envisioned an escape from his wretched existence, foreseeing a new life as a formidable relic user. However, the fates had other plans. A seismic shift of a different kind unfolded as a new world order emerged. Those who had amassed a plethora of relics seized control, monopolizing these sources of power. In their quest for dominance, they crafted stringent laws, restricting the utilization of relics and consolidating their influence over the transformed world. Jo-hyun's dreams of a triumphant rebirth were shattered. The world had metamorphosed into a dystopian landscape governed by ruthless overlords. The only viable option left for Jo-hyun was to align himself with these power-hungry individuals. Amidst the chaos, Taekbyum, a corporate giant, recognized Jo-hyun's exceptional excavation skills. The CEO, Kwon Tae-jun, extended an offer that would alter the course of Jo-hyun's destiny. However, the proposition came with a caveat. In the complex web of Jo-hyun's life, the challenges he faced were multifaceted, driven by a necessity to navigate a world in which relics held unparalleled power. His work, once straightforward, had morphed into an intricate dance of deceit, cunning, and survival. Jo-hyun found himself in the roles of a smuggler, thief, and spy, but his primary trade was that of a tomb raider, an art he perfected over the years. Jo-hyun and his team became adept at infiltrating restricted areas to pilfer relics discovered by others. The results were staggering, propelling CEO Kwon to the pinnacle of relic users worldwide. Yet, this success came at a cost. The relics Jo-hyun and his team stole were now in the hands of a powerful, albeit morally ambiguous, leader. As CEO Kwon's influence grew, so did the disdain directed at Jo-hyun. He became a symbol of subservience to a dictator, a pawn in the game of power played by those who controlled the relics. Despite the societal scorn, Jo-hyun pressed on, driven by the harsh reality of survival in a world intoxicated by the allure of relics. The dichotomy of his existence, working tirelessly to serve those he despised, etched a complex narrative of resilience and compromise. Jo-hyun never thought he'd find himself in this situation. The mission he's on was a setup by CEO Kwon, who intentionally sent Jo-hyun and his comrades on an impossible and dangerous mission. CEO Kwon felt threatened by Jo-hyun and his team's exceptional skills, so he set them up to fail. The present moment was a dire manifestation of Jo-hyun's entanglement in this perilous world. A monstrous snake, a manifestation of the dangers he faced, lurked ominously. In desperation, Jo-hyun hurled a rock at the creature, questioning its satisfaction after claiming the lives of his comrades. Faced with the impending threat, Jo-hyun contemplated his own mortality and the potential transformation into a vengeful spirit. His resolve solidified, vowing to haunt CEO Kwon and disrupt the life he had built upon the relics stolen and confiscated by Jo-hyun and his team. In this tumultuous juncture, a mysterious voice pierced the tension, remarking on Jo-hyun's noisy predicament. Startled, Jo-hyun demanded an explanation. The voice, surprised that Jo-hyun could hear it, revealed itself as a relic, a fragment of the very power that dictated the world's fate. Jo-hyun, in the throes of uncertainty, engaged in a dialogue with the relic, unsure of the god or force to which it belonged. In the labyrinthine depths of the underground, Jo-hyun found himself in a desperate plea with the relic, urging it to aid him in defeating the monstrous snake and securing his escape from the treacherous surroundings. The response from the relic, however, carried a somber tone. Jo-hyun's condition was dire, with the imminent threat of death looming as he bled profusely. The relic, in a rather fatalistic manner, suggested that despite Jo-hyun's exceptional abilities, he seemed to be born in the wrong era. The power he had acquired remained underutilized, a frustrating twist of fate that left Jo Hyun grappling with the harsh reality of his circumstances. Frustrated by the Relic's seemingly callous assessment, Jo Hyun snapped back, asserting that the Relic had no right to speak about his life or understand his desires. As the colossal snake prepared for another strike, Jo Hyun defiantly declared his unwavering determination to bring down CEO Kwon, regardless of the odds stacked against him. In an unexpected turn, the Relic's voice erupted in laughter, and a brilliant light enveloped Jo Hyun. The Relic, rather than abandoning him to his fate, expressed intrigue at his resolve, deeming it a waste to see such talent fade away. Suddenly, a bird materialized before him, resembling a crow. This enigmatic bird presented Jo Hyun with an opportunity, cryptically alluding to the chance of claiming the throne of a king. The message left Jo Hyun perplexed, struggling to decipher its meaning amid the chaos of the underground and the imminent threat he faced. As the bird's cryptic words lingered in his mind, Jo Hyun woke up to a startling revelation: he was completely healed. The injuries that had once threatened his life were miraculously gone. A sense of bewilderment washed over him as he surveyed his surroundings. Workers bustled about, and the sterile environment hinted at a place far removed from the underground shadows. To his surprise, Jo Hyun found himself in a police station, a stark contrast to the perilous situation he had been in moments ago. As he attempted to piece together the fragments of reality in the surreal encounter with the Relic and the Crow, a police officer sternly demanded his identification. Jo Hyun, still disoriented and grappling with the recent inexplicable events, questioned whether the Crow played a role in his sudden healing or if it was all a dream, perhaps a hallucination induced by the perilous circumstances he had faced. The police officer's patience waned as he scolded Jo Hyun, emphasizing the need for proper identification and the urgency to conclude the encounter. Amidst the confusion at the police station, another officer resignedly commented that he had given up, citing this as the notorious "Your nobody goes home" in the dreadful era of 2030. Jo Hyun, surprised by the revelation of the year, checked the date to find that it was January 1st, 2030. Glancing around, he spotted a familiar face, a kid sitting beside him. Struggling to place the kid, memories of a high school brawl flooded back. Jo Hyun realized this was the same troublemaker who had sparked a fight that landed him in the police station. The surreal nature of the situation left Jo Hyun in disbelief, grappling with the realization that he had indeed traveled back 15 years. Recalling the cryptic words of the Crow Relic, which had sought to test if Jo Hyun could claim the throne this time, a profound realization struck him. If it was now January 1st, 2030, the world was still at peace. This was before the emergence of the relics that altered the course of history. The god-rank relics had yet to make their appearance. The prospect excited Jo Hyun, realizing that he could start collecting relics earlier than anyone else, armed with the knowledge and memories from his previous timeline. Fueled by this revelation, Jo Hyun couldn't contain his excitement, a mischievous smirk playing on his face. The opportunity to shape events differently and gain an advantage in collecting relics fueled a newfound sense of purpose and anticipation within him. In the aftermath of the world's immersion in the mystic power of relics, Jo Hyun had grown accustomed to a lack of surprises. However, today proved to be an exception, unveiling a series of unforeseen twists that challenged his perceptions. Firstly, there existed a tomb capable of instilling fear even in an experienced excavationist like Jo Hyun. The ominous aura surrounding this burial site defied his expectations and shook the foundations of his understanding. Secondly, the mission that led him to this foreboding tomb turned out to be a carefully laid trap, masterminded by the cunning and elusive Kwon Tae-joon, making him question not only the motives behind the mission but also the nature of the world shaped by relics. The most astonishing turn of events occurred when, on the brink of death, Jo Hyun found himself thrust back 15 years into the past. The mechanics of this inexplicable time travel remained shrouded in mystery, but Jo Hyun recognized the magnitude of this unique opportunity. It presented a chance to alter the course of his destiny and claim the relics before anyone else could, armed with the knowledge and memories from his previous timeline. However, amid these profound considerations, Jo Hyun's musings were abruptly disrupted by the voice of a distressed mother seated beside him. Oblivious to the weight of the situation, she sternly urged Jo Hyun to pay attention to the police officers. Her accusations were pointed. Jo Hyun stood accused of assaulting her high school senior child. The mother demanded accountability, threatening legal consequences unless Jo Hyun settled financially or faced imprisonment. As the mother pressed her demands, Jo Hyun's mind raced back to the incident with the high school kid from 15 years ago. A simple altercation had escalated into a fight, with Jo Hyun attempting to disengage, inadvertently roughing up the kid. In his previous life, this situation had led to a humbling experience, wherein Jo Hyun had to apologize and beg for a reduction in the exorbitant settlement money demanded. Now, faced with a strikingly familiar predicament, Jo Hyun realized he lacked the financial means to settle. His main tools in the archaeist Relic, crucial assets in his relic-centric endeavors, were currently unavailable. Moreover, in this altered timeline, Jo Hyun found himself without any stable source of income. The pressing question loomed large: how could he embark on the quest to collect relics in this state? Jo Hyun couldn't believe how quickly his supposed stroke of luck had turned into a deceptive mirage. The mother of the kid involved in the earlier scuffle assumed he was ignoring her, frustration evident in her eyes. In a sudden burst of anger, she attempted to slap Jo Hyun. Acting on instinct, he deftly caught her hand midair, surprised by his own reflexes. The realization struck him that perhaps the retained knowledge and experience from the last 15 years had sharpened his fighting skills. As Jo Hyun rose to his feet, he urged the lady to calm down, emphasizing that her son had initiated the fight. Attempting to inject reason into the escalating situation, he pointed out the absurdity of their behavior. However, his words fell on deaf ears as the woman's son, fueled by anger, lunged at Jo Hyun with a punch. Jo Hyun effortlessly sidestepped the punch and, seizing the opportunity, executed a swift body slam that sent the kid sprawling to the floor. Reflecting on the encounter, Jo Hyun noted that his body felt strangely lighter, speculating that he hadn't yet experienced the side effects of the relics that altered physical attributes. The police officers, perturbed by the commotion, sternly reprimanded Jo Hyun for causing a disturbance in the confines of the police station. Unfazed by their warnings, Jo Hyun, acknowledging his lack of funds, suggested they throw him in jail. However, the woman, now infuriated, berated Jo Hyun for his seemingly reckless stance. She couldn't comprehend why he would prefer a criminal record over settling the matter, emphasizing the gravity of the situation. As the heated exchange unfolded, Jo Hyun pondered the implications of the relics and the chaos they were destined to unleash upon the world. The lawless reality that awaited once the relics gained prominence loomed in his thoughts. Sitting in the jail cell, he realized that while his improved fighting skills were an asset, they alone wouldn't be sufficient to navigate the challenges ahead. Facing the urgency of securing a source of income for his future expeditions, Jo Hyun contemplated his next steps. In the midst of this internal struggle, a sudden revelation caught him off guard. His name was prominently labeled as a tomb raider. Doubting whether it was a mere illusion or a glimpse into a potential path, amidst the perplexity of his situation, Jo Hyun found himself hitting his own head in frustration. The bewildering experience took another unexpected turn as a new pop-up appeared before him. Jo Hyun, familiar with relics and their enigmatic powers, speculated that the Crow relic might be responsible for these strange occurrences. Venting his frustration, he called out to the Crow, demanding an explanation for the surreal events unfolding. In response to his summons, a status window materialized, revealing the basic skills of a tomb raider. Among these skills was a spy ability that granted Jo Hyun the power to observe the details within a 1-meter radius around him. Annoyed by the intrusion of these mystical windows into his reality, Jo Hyun expressed his frustration by physically lashing out at the status windows. In the midst of his agitation, a new quest appeared, urging him to revitalize the 4 fundamental skills of a tomb raider. The audible disturbance caught the attention of a nearby police officer, who sternly instructed Jo Hyun to keep quiet. Pondering his unique ability to perceive these status windows, Jo Hyun questioned why he was the sole witness to these mysterious manifestations. The spy skill, reminiscent of a feature from his archaeist relic, intrigued him. The prospect of enhancing 1 out of the 4 skills stirred excitement within Jo Hyun, prompting him to reconsider the significance of pursuing his archaeist relic. Amid the contemplation of these newfound abilities, Jo Hyun's thoughts lingered on the intentions of the Crow relic. His experience told him that relics rarely extended their assistance willingly, raising questions about the relic's motives and the role it intended to play in his journey. As these ponderings unfolded, a man approached and called out to Jo Hyun. Leaving the confines of the police station together, the man explained that the kid involved in the scuffle was a habitual offender. Asserting that Jo Hyun shouldn't have been the one incarcerated, he assured Jo Hyun that he would take care of the situation. The man introduced himself as Kim Jeon-woo, a detective, and revealed that he had played a significant role in Jo Hyun's life. Kim had been a guardian figure, taking in the orphaned Jo Hyun and treating him as a younger brother. Grateful for Kim's intervention, Jo Hyun expressed his thanks sincerely. Kim shared a light-hearted laugh, acknowledging the intimidating nature of Jo Hyun's past jail experience. Curiosity piqued, Jo Hyun inquired about any reports of paranormal activities or supernatural occurrences. Reflecting for a moment, Kim casually mentioned that his wife indeed possessed some form of supernatural abilities. Jo Hyun found humor in the situation, noting that despite the appearance of tombs in various places, there had been no noteworthy disturbances or sightings of relic users. In essence, the current moment seemed opportune for Jo Hyun to set his plans into motion. After exchanging goodbyes, Kim left, leaving Jo Hyun contemplating the strategic timing that lay before him. With tombs emerging across different locations and a notable absence of relic users, Jo Hyun felt emboldened to move forward with his plans. Now armed with acquired skills, he believed the time was right for him to make substantial progress. While navigating the streets and pondering his next steps, a practical challenge surfaced: the financial aspect. The most coveted relics were reportedly surfacing in Europe or America, posing a dilemma for Jo Hyun on how to fund his flights to these distant locations. Lost in thought, a call from a familiar group of individuals interrupted his contemplation. These individuals questioned Jo Hyun's apparent lack of activity. Recognizing the voices on the other end of the line, Jo Hyun experienced a surge of happiness. It appeared that he had stumbled upon a potential source of income. In a confrontational encounter, Jo Hyun found himself facing off against a group of individuals who demanded respect and compliance. The central figure among them, Park Kyung-tae, had a past as a street thug but had transitioned into the art world, working as an art broker. His partner in troublemaking, Park Kyung-ju, was his older sister, and together, they ran an art gallery. The history between Jo Hyun and these troublemakers traced back to his high school days when, in need of quick cash, he reluctantly took up a temporary job with them. What was initially intended as a brief stint extended into Jo Hyun's mid-20s as these individuals refused to release their grip on him. Despite fulfilling his duties diligently, Jo Hyun received no recognition and faced constant disrespect. Threats regarding his wages hung over him like a dark cloud. The situation reached a boiling point when Tae, in the present moment, shouted at Jo Hyun for not complying with their demands. Jo Hyun's response was swift and assertive. Ignoring the instructions, he delivered a resounding punch to Tae's face. Defiance echoed in his words as he declared his departure from their employment, demanding the wages and severance pay owed to him. The confrontation escalated as the group surrounded Jo Hyun, who stood ready for a physical showdown. Amidst the tension, Jo Hyun's combat skills shone through. When Tae attempted to strike him, Jo Hyun skillfully countered, leaving Tae sprawled on the ground. The unexpected display of fighting prowess surprised the onlookers. Buoyed by his 15 years of experience, Jo Hyun faced the ensuing challenge with a confident smile. However, the altercation wasn't over. The other members of the group, witnessing Jo Hyun's prowess, decided to take matters into their own hands. In a synchronized attack, they lunged at him, but Jo Hyun effortlessly took them down, leaving them shocked and bewildered. As the dust settled, Jo Hyun couldn't help but revel in the satisfaction of his regained physical abilities. Despite this triumph, he remained aware of the limitations of his current body, acknowledging the need for caution in the face of relentless challenges. The confrontation took an unexpected turn when Tae, in a desperate move, brandished a dagger. However, his partner intervened, cautioning him about the relic nature of the weapon. In the wake of discovering that the knife wielded by Tae was, in fact, a relic, Jo Hyun felt the unmistakable aura surrounding the ancient artifact. The revelation didn't catch him off guard, as relics were known to draw attention by manifesting grand tombs. Yet, some relics preferred to remain hidden within the fabric of human society. Jo Hyun couldn't help but entertain the thought that he was destined to intertwine his fate with a relic. When Tae initiated an attack with the relic knife, Jo Hyun's instincts kicked in. Swiftly evading Tae's advances, Jo Hyun seized the relic knife from his assailant's grip. Holding the relic in his hand, a surge of confidence coursed through Jo Hyun as he informed the group that he would now demonstrate how to wield such a formidable artifact. Blessed with an extraordinary ability to perceive the inner workings of those around him, Jo Hyun effortlessly sidestepped the simultaneous attacks from the group, retaliating with precision slashes. A realization struck him: the potential possession of a power akin to the relics he sought. Armed with the relic knife, he commanded the attention of the group, demanding the money they owed. The weight of his words and the intensity of his gaze left the group with no choice but to comply. Under the dominating presence of Jo Hyun, Tae reluctantly agreed to hand over the money. Meanwhile, Tae's sister, learning of her brother's defeat and the loss of their funds to Jo Hyun, vented her frustration over the phone. Attempting to convey the sudden and remarkable transformation in Jo Hyun's fighting abilities, Tae highlighted the dangerous aura emanating from him. Despite initial anger, Tae's sister eventually calmed down, focusing on the amount of money they had relinquished. The narrative shifted to a few hours earlier, revealing the decisive moment when Jo Hyun extracted not only the money but additional valuables from Tae and his accomplices. Threatening them with potential harm if he discovered anything else, Jo Hyun walked away with a gold statue, a tangible token of his dominance. The scene underscored Jo Hyun's newfound control over both relics and the individuals who had dared to challenge him. Returning to the present, Tae's sister urged him to retrieve the money and, more specifically, the gold statue from Jo Hyun.